Reproach. To criticize someone, especially for not being successful or not doing what is expected. His mother reproached him for not eating all his dinner. Reprobate. To condemn strongly as unworthy, unacceptable, or evil. The movie was reprobated for glorifying violence. Repudiate. To refuse to accept or obey something or someone. Because I wanted to avoid the conflict between my two sisters, I repudiated their argument. Repulse. To push someone or something back or away, especially to successfully stop an attack. The enemy attack was quickly repulsed. Requite. To give or do something in return for something given to you or done for you. He chose to requite his wife for the lovely dinner by presenting her with a bouquet of flowers. Rescind. To make a law, order, or decision no longer have any legal effect. Because of illegal alcohol sales, the government had to rescind the Prohibition Act. Reside. To live, have your home, or stay in a place. The homeless man will reside in a local shelter until he can afford his own apartment. Resign. To give up a job or position. Because she was sick and could no longer work full-time, she resigned the directorship. Resilient. Able to quickly return to its usual shape after being bent, stretched, or pressed. This rubber ball is very resilient and immediately springs back into shape. Resolute. Determined in character, action, or ideas. After such a heartbreaking loss, every member of the team was more resolute than ever to win the next game against their arch-rivals. Resonant. Clear and loud, or causing sounds to be clear and loud. The resonant sound travels to every seat in the amphitheater. Resounding. Loud. A resounding cheer could be heard all the way across the stadium. Respiration. Breathing. During respiration, humans inhale oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Restitution. The return of objects that were stolen or lost. They are demanding the restitution of ancient treasures that were removed from the country in the 16th century. Restraint. Something that limits the freedom of someone or something, or that prevents something from growing or increasing. Even though she was upset, the irritated mother showed emotional restraint and refused to yell at her children. Resurgent. Increasing again, or becoming popular again. The publisher believed that vampire novels would be a resurgent trend this year. Retch. To react in a way as if you are vomiting. The pregnant woman was struck by a bout of morning sickness and began to retch. Reticent. Unwilling to speak about your thoughts or feelings. I am much more reticent while Barbara likes to discuss her personal life with our coworkers. Retort. To answer someone quickly in an angry or funny way. Even if someone insults you, don't retort, as it only makes the situation worse. Retrospective. Relating to or thinking about the past. After the last football game, each player was asked to write a retrospective essay about his performance throughout the season. Revamp. To change or arrange something again, in order to improve it. The walled garden was completely revamped last year. Reverberate. To echo repeatedly. The loud music reverberated off the walls. Revere. To greatly respect and admire someone or something. Many people from India do not eat beef because they revere the cow as a sacred object. Reverent. Showing great respect and admiration. A reverent silence fell over the crowd. Revert. To come or go back as to a former condition, period, or subject. The state court refused to revert the local court's decision. Revivify. To give new energy and strength to an event or activity. The interior decorator came up with some modern ideas to revivify the drab walls in her home. Rhapsody. A piece of music that has no formal structure and expresses powerful feelings. Because the singer was so passionate about his music, he sung the rhapsody with unrestrained enthusiasm. Rhetoric. Speech or writing intended to be effective and influence people. Rhetoric is the study of the ways of using language effectively. Ribald. Marked by coarseness or lewdness. He entertained us with ribald stories. Ridden. Full of something unpleasant or bad. She was guilt-ridden when she discovered that the business had failed because of her. Rife. Very common or frequent. Graft and corruption were rife in city government. Rift. a large crack in the ground or in rock. A difference in perspectives caused a rift that forced the two friends to end their business partnership. Right triangle, a triangle that has one angle of 90 degrees. The hypotenuse is the longest side of a right triangle. Rigor, the fact that people are made to follow rules in a very severe way. The stern professor does not accept excuses and is known for exhibiting rigor in his classroom. Riot, a noisy and violent public gathering. Police used tear gas to put the riot down. Riposte, to reply in a quick and clever way. She simply riposted that she did not create the book for the scientific community. Risible, so lacking in quality or usefulness that it deserves to be laughed at. If you stick with the most risible elements of your speech, your audience will be so relaxed from laughing that you're bound to win their support. Risque, verging on impropriety or indecency. His risque jokes were indecent and considered out of place at the wedding. Rococo, relating to the very decorated and detailed style in buildings, art, and furniture that was popular in Europe in the 18th century. The entrance rooms of the French castle were decorated in fancy Rococo style. Roundly, severely, the home team were roundly defeated. Rout, to defeat an opponent completely. The Russian chess team routed all the rest. Rubric, a set of instructions, especially on an exam paper, usually printed in a different style or color. The rubric for the history project required the students to include a visual aid in their presentation. Rue, to feel sorry about an event and wish it had not happened. I rue the day I agreed to this stupid plan. Ruminate, to think carefully and for a long period about something. On New Year's Eve, many people choose to ruminate about their lives. Rupture, to cause something to explode, break, or tear. The missile launch is sure to rupture the relationship between the two countries. Ruse, a trick intended to deceive someone. The security guard knew the girls were going to try and use a distractive ruse in order to shoplift. Rustic, typical of the country, especially because of being attractively simple. The restaurant has a rustic charm that reminds me of my grandmother's kitchen. Ruthless, cruel, or determined to succeed without caring about others. Some people believe that you have to be ruthless to succeed in this world. Sabotage, to intentionally damage or destroy property. Though he had no intention to sabotage the event, his unexpected arrival made things fall apart. Saccharin, too sweet or too polite. We used saccharin tablets in lieu of sugar to make the cakes. Sacrosanct, so important that there cannot be any change or question. The minister of our church is a sacrosanct individual who should never be criticized. Sagacious, having or showing understanding and the ability to make good judgments. Many agree that replacing typewriters with computers is a sagacious idea because computers make typing, editing, and proofreading much easier. Sage, wise, especially as a result of great experience. I think you made a sage decision. Salacious, causing or showing a strong interest in sexual matters. The salacious content of some popular novels has led parents to demand that they be removed from school libraries. Salient, most noticeable or important. She began to summarize the salient features of the proposal. Salubrious, pleasant, clean, and healthy to live in. Vegetables are salubrious foods which provide essential nutrients. Salutary, causing improvement of behavior or character. In addition to effectively teaching the curriculum, our professor often educates us with salutary lessons that personally enrich our lives. Sanction, approval or permission, especially formal or legal. They tried to get official sanction for the scheme. Sanctity, the condition of being holy or of deserving great respect. Although I place great value on my job, I put nothing above the sanctity of my family. Sangfroid, the ability to stay calm in a difficult or dangerous situation. Even as the building fell around him, the fireman maintained his sangfroid and rescued a little girl. Sanguine, positive and hoping for good things. Some people expect the economy to continue to improve, but others are less sanguine. Sardonic, showing an amused attitude towards someone or something that suggests a criticism but does not express it. After Rick was fired from the restaurant, he wrote a sardonic review of the eatery. Sartorial, relating to the making of clothes, usually men's clothes, or to a way of dressing. He was raised by a tailor, which gave him a sartorial sense for clothing. Satiate, to completely satisfy yourself or a need, especially with food or pleasure, so that you could not have any more. He drank greedily until his thirst was satiated. Satiric, criticizing people or ideas in a humorous way, especially in order to make a political point. His cartoon has a satiric humor. Saturnine, serious and unfriendly. The dog's eyes became saturnine whenever he was left at home alone. Savant, a person with a high level of knowledge or skill, especially someone who is less able in other ways. Since my aunt speaks over 20 languages, she is considered a verbal savant. Savor, to enjoy food or an experience slowly, in order to enjoy it as much as possible. Since it's my last cookie, I will eat it slowly and savor the taste. Scam, an illegal plan for making money, especially one that involves tricking people. After asking for a large sum of money, I knew the job was a scam because the people did not represent the company. Scanty, smaller in size or amount than is considered necessary or is hoped for. Since the airline lost my checked-in luggage, I have scanty clothing for my vacation. Scathing, criticizing someone or something in a severe and unkind way. When the food critic found a hair in his meal, he wrote a scathing review of the restaurant. Schematic, showing the main form and features of something, usually in the form of a drawing, in a way that helps people to understand it. While producing the schematic drawing of the Greystone building, the architect began to assign tasks to start the project. Schism, a division into two groups caused by a disagreement about ideas, especially in a religious organization. The schism between my two best friends put me in the awkward position of having to choose one over the other. Scintilla, a very small amount of something. I wanted to make coffee, but there was only a scintilla of coffee beans left. Scintillate, to emit quick flashes as if throwing off sparks. Downed power lines scintillated fires in several parts of town. Scintillating, exciting and intelligent. During the interview, the clever comedian came up with one scintillating response after another. Scorn, to treat with a great lack of respect, or to refuse something because you think it is wrong or not acceptable. He was scorned by his classmates for his bad behavior. Scriptural, from or relating to the holy writings of a religion. One may assume that the early church kept Sunday, but this hypothesis must be discarded after studying scriptural evidence. Scrutinize, to examine something very carefully in order to discover information. After receiving over 200 resumes, the Human Resources Department must now scrutinize all of the potential candidates to find the ideal person for the position. Scrutiny, the careful and detailed examination of something in order to get information about it. The government's record will be subjected to scrutiny in the weeks before the election. Scuffle, to have a sudden short fight. The youth scuffled with the policeman, then escaped down the alley. Scurvy, arousing disgust or scorn. After winning the lottery, she was beset by a swarm of scurvy con artists. Secrete, to produce and release a liquid. An octopus can secrete ink to ward off prey. Sedition, language or behavior that is intended to persuade other people to oppose their government. The rebels were arrested for sedition when they protested outside of the dictator's palace. Seduction, the attractive quality of something. The seductions of life in a warm climate have led many veterans to live in Florida. Sedulous, careful and using a lot of effort. He is a sedulous worker who is always on the lookout for new prospects. Seethe, to feel very angry. My father will seethe if someone drives behind him too closely. Seismic, relating to or caused by an earthquake. Seismic tests were conducted to determine the force of the earthquake. Self-abasement, the act of behaving in a way that makes one seem lower or less deserving of respect. After tough training, I got rid of my self-abasement and became confident. Self-evident. Clear or obvious without needing any proof or explanation. The teacher's instructions were self-evident, so no students asked any questions about the assignment. Selfless. Caring more for what other people need and want rather than for what you yourself need and want. A selfless individual often donates a fair sum of their money to charity even though they could use that money for themselves. Semantic. Connected with the meanings of words. Words are semantic units that convey meaning. Semblance. A situation or condition that is similar to what is wanted or expected, but is not exactly as hoped for. The city has now returned to some semblance of normality after last night's celebrations. Semiotic. Relating to the study of signs and symbols. They deconstruct text and images on the basis of their semiotic meaning beyond the surface text. Senescence. The fact of becoming older, and therefore being in less good condition and less able to function well. Because of his senescence, my grandfather was unable to travel long distances. Sensational. Very exciting, or extremely good. She looks sensational in her new dress. Sensual. Expressing or suggesting physical pleasure. The small changes to my environment helps add to the relaxation and sensual experience of enjoying my food on a daily basis. Sensuous. Pleasing to the physical senses. The hypnotist's sensuous voice was very relaxing. Sentence. To officially state the punishment given by a law court to a guilty person or organization. He was sentenced to 3 years in jail and fined $40,000. Sentient. Able to experience feelings. Many people believe plants to be sentient and responsive to things such as music and the human voice.